I'd like to call the meeting to order. Everyone that can, would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
All board members are present this evening.
Okay, on the agenda, we've been handed out, hopefully it'll be approved, but we've had some late last minute additions to the agenda. And the new agenda has stars next to the items that we hope to add. That would be additions that would be 10D, which is rescind the May 8th, 29 action providing appraisal instructions. 11I, J, and L. So I is water rates, J is resolution 1920-20 for transportation fund, and I is discussion of refuse issues. And also in the minutes, in the consent agenda, there's a correction to be made.
Well, let's approve the agenda first.
Okay. Yeah, that's the second item. Okay, so let's approve the agenda. Motion, please.
I would move to approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, consent agenda. There's a correction recommended in the minutes. Page 2 of 5 under public comment. The second sentence, it says the township will not enforce the ordinance against boat slips, and it should be that the township will defer enforcement of the ordinance against boat slips. And that's the only correction at that point. So, motion to approve the consent
I would move
agenda?
to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. A vote, please.
Mrs. Chenoweth?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, announcements and information. The Red, White, and Blue celebration fireworks display will be Saturday, June 29th. Starts at 6 o'clock. There's lots of activities that will be involved in it, music, food, and one of the best fireworks displays in anywhere around. Township offices will be closed on July 4th in observance of Independence Day. The Highland DDA Summer Concert Series, Tuesday at 7 p.m. in Veterans Park, begin on July 9th. The Highland Farmers Market will start every Saturday, June 15th through October 26th from 9 a.m. to noon. That'll be at the core of downtown. That's put on by the DDA. And I'd like to make a comment about the Chill at the Mill. For those that are here that don't know what we're talking about, the Chill at the Mill is a proposed playground. We are funding it with all private monies and grants. And we had on a week ago Friday, we had the big reveal where we invited business owners and others to attend for a special event. It went off phenomenally. To give you an idea, we had a local business that gave us a special gift of $50,000 to start. So we are way on our way to being funded. There's also been some other gifts that we were asked not to divulge the amount, that are extremely generous. And so I think right out of the box, we've been successful. The people that have seen this are really geeked up. So it's going to be at the library, built at the library, and we'll be starting that soon. We also on Saturday morning had an open house for the public and the kids to come in, and that was a phenomenal success. I mean, we had free hot dogs and root beer, and the kids got to run all over the place. And the model was on display that I built, and it was also painted on the ground in full size. So you could walk the sidewalks that are going to be installed, and there's close-up pictures of the model that would show what each element would look like. Once again, a very, very successful event, and I just want to thank everybody that's been involved in that for everything that they've done for their commitment. So especially to those that have generously given, and we've also had some extremely generous offers for in-kind as well. So this will be a total success. So thanks for that. Anybody else have anything they'd like to add at this point?
I wanted to thank Haley Kentworthy and the fire department for their help with the parade at Founder's Day. They really stepped up. It was new leadership on the parade, and I was so impressed on how they carried it out, and I just want to thank them for their work on that.
Okay.
She did a great job.
Yep.
Yeah.
We also had superintendents at that parade as well. I think one of the highest.
That's good.
Attendance. Okay, item 7, public comment. Anybody have any public comment? All right, we'll move on. We've got 2 presentations this evening. First presentation is Main Street, Oakland County accreditation presentation to the Highland DDA. So, Mr. Colbeck.
Thank you, board members. Take long. So every year, each of our select level communities goes through a formal review by Main Street Oakland County staff, and we'll bring in a consultant. This year we had Elizabeth Chase. She is the state coordinator for the state of Nebraska. And we evaluate the local Main Street program to identify what it's doing particularly well and what can be worked on in the next year. The assessment's not meant to be a qualitative ranking of the communities downtown, but it's an evaluation that examines the effectiveness of the local Main Street program within its own context. And it recommends a level of activity to the community that is prepared to undertake in the coming year appropriate to your overall goals and objectives. During this year's assessment visit, information was collected from a variety of sources, including interviews with DDA board members, committee members, local elected officials, business owners, and staff. This information was looked at through the lens of Main Street America's standards of performance. These standards are intended to promote national standards for each Main Street program and an annual accreditation to meet these standards. These standards are developed by the National Trust Main Street Center, and they provide benchmarks and guidelines on how a revitalization program should optimally function, as well as serve as an incentive for programs to perform more effectively. In order for a local program to be designated a Main Street America accredited community, they must receive a minimum score of 7 points in 7 of 10 in each 10 standards. And those standards are that there's broad-based community support, they have a vision and mission statement, comprehensive work plans, a historic preservation ethic, active board and committees, adequate operating budget, paid professional Main Street program manager, program of ongoing training, reporting of key statistics, and current Main Street network membership. We're always happy to say that Highland's Main Street program meets each goal. Just some particular highlights or strengths that I want to mention briefly. Sitting in on this evaluation, the organization has demonstrated it's got strong cooperation with the township. It leverages skills and resources, and it helps everyone work in the same direction. The DDA is active in bringing stakeholders together, and stakeholders that have diverse viewpoints and are able to accomplish many of your goals. The small business programs and promotions have continued to gain momentum, and there are really some great ideas coming out of here. The DDA programs and projects have improved the appearance and continue to improve the appearance of the district and have led to increased positive attitudes for both the program and the community. And businesses are seeing the value of coordinated promotions. You have a dedicated executive director, you have a great group of volunteers, and they're up for the challenge of continuing to make Highland's DDA district the best it can be. As your liaison with Oakland County, I am very happy to present you with this plaque to confirm your accreditation as a select level membership once again.
Thank you, Tim. This is Tim Colbeck.
Always happy to be here.
Youngest guy in the front.
Yeah, I didn't even have to ask. Very good. Okay, good.
Questions. I mean, you guys should probably be getting used to this presentation by now. And I do want to say, and I told Ms. Edison, I've been saying this everywhere this year, I've done a lot of these evaluations. That was one of the best ones that I've ever done. I mean, the energy and the positivity that was coming out of it was fantastic this year. So you guys keep up that work, okay?
I'd like to also point out that Tim used to be our DDA director. And he's, of course, moved on in different directions and raised a family. And now he's kind of come full circle by working with Oakland County and the Main Street program. And we really appreciate your being put back in Highland. So it's kind of a twofer. We got 2 for 1 here. So.
Well, and I'm very happy to be here. This is coming and seeing everything that's happened in the time since I left. Is it makes me really happy. I like coming and seeing it every time I come through it, and every time I visit with Missy. It's great. Awesome.
Well, I'd like to say one other thing is that when you look at the age of our DDA, and you think about how time flies, and it doesn't just happen overnight.
No.
And it didn't just happen with one individual or one director, it happened with multiple directors. So we're happy that you were a part of that process that helped keep the drive rolling forward. And I thank you very much for that. So.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks again, and good night, everybody.
All right, thank you. Okay, the next item is a presentation from Oakland County Equalization. Gentlemen, would you like to come forward?
Thank you, Township board members and supervisor. Thank you for having us tonight. Good evening. My name is Phil Bertolini, and I'm the Deputy County Executive and CIO for Oakland County Government. As a little bit of background, I've been a certified assessing officer for 31 years. I've been a level 4 Michigan Master Assessing Officer for 25. I've also taught ethics for appraisers for about 15 years. And the reason I want to share that with you is because I know what I'm about ready to talk about. I want you to know that I have experience in that. Dave Heber, our equalization director, is here as well, and he can answer any questions if we get to that point. But first, I've been in government for 31 years, as I said. This is the first time I've had to appear and defend the staff of equalization from being labeled as corrupt and a criminal enterprise by one of our own county commissioners. I'm appalled and I'm disgusted at what has transpired. Even more appalled, sir, that you, as the township supervisor, agreed with him. Oakland County Commissioner Bob Hoffman has and continues to make deleterious comments about the dedicated professionals at Oakland County Equalization. He claims to be a private citizen making a private complaint, but stated on video, it was your April video, where he stated that he was also making comments as an Oakland County Commissioner. He's using his public office to lash out at these same professionals because he lost his appeals on his own private property. Losing his appeals repeatedly has clouded his judgment and sent him in an uncontrollable tirade against us. To be clear, he has not simply made these comments here. He's also made these comments to the public officials of Rose Township. The good news here is that the folks in Rose Township, they defended our team. So I'll be heading there soon as well to make sure that I clear the story and clear the air with them. So let's set the record straight. I have a letter authored by Mr. Heber, which you've been provided in the packet, that I would like to read on his behalf. The letter clearly states what took place in detail and how out of line Oakland County Commissioner Bob Hoffman's comments are. And as I read this letter, I ask you to reflect on what has happened and how it's been dealt with by your board supervisor, Rick Hamel. I ask you to think about the dedicated professionals that were verbally abused by Oakland County Commissioner Bob Hoffman and the Highland Township Supervisor, Rick Hamel. Think about their response when hearing those disgusting words while working hard to follow the law to the letter, which we expect of them every day. This taxpayer commissioner is being treated no differently than any other law-abiding citizen by the team at Equalization. He is being treated differently by your supervisor, and I leave that to the people of Highland Township to judge. So the letter is as follows. Dear Township Board members, the purpose of this correspondence is to rescind the letter dated February 28, 2019 to the Highland Township Clerk Flowers offering an assessing contract renewal. The reason for this rescission is the recent public comments made by Oakland County Commissioner Robert Hoffman and the comments made by Township Supervisor Rick Hamel. Commissioner Hoffman's comments are centered around his private property owned in both Highland and Rose Townships. Commissioner Hoffman's property consists of 4 parcels, 1 parcel located in Highland Township and 3 parcels located in Rose Township, totaling approximately 299 acres. Additionally, the property includes 3 residential homes, a stable, various horse barns, and a riding arena with an attached commercial wine tasting room. For the past several years, Commissioner Hoffman has appealed his property assessments to the local board of review and then on to the Michigan Tax Tribunal. The appeals are comprised of 2 main disputes. First, the valuation of the wine tasting room, and secondly, the partial agricultural exemption due to the addition of the wine tasting room. The first issue of valuation was reviewed and changes were made. In March, the MTT opined supporting Oakland County Equalization's valuation methodology of Commissioner Hoffman's wine tasting room and ruled that the agricultural exemption be reduced to 80% for the 2018 tax year to the commercial use of the structure. Based on Commissioner Hoffman's comments, he is obviously not happy with the result of his appeals and is using public comment to accuse OCE of corruption and or incompetence, and I quote from your April meeting. Additionally, he is trying to force a settlement in his favor by deriding the hardworking people at Oakland County Equalization. Additionally, comments made by Highland Township Supervisor Rick Hamel in support of the Commissioner Hoffman raised additional concerns. In order to defend against Oakland County Commissioner Bob Hoffman's inappropriate comments and Highland Township Supervisor Rick Hamel's inappropriate comments, a true timeline of Oakland County Equalization's handling of Commissioner Hoffman's MTT case is as follows. On January 4th, 2018, at the request of Supervisor Hamel, the OCE staff met with Commissioner Hoffman and Supervisor Hamel to discuss his pending MTT cases. Commissioner Hoffman made relevant points at the meeting, was informed we would review his file and get back to him. The assessment record was corrected based on the joint discussion. On January 29th, 2018, Oakland County Equalization via email to Commissioner Hoffman offered to settle the MTT pending cases. On February 6, 2018, Commissioner Hoffman was not pleased with the offer to settle, and through Supervisor Hamel, a meeting was held with OCE staff, as well as Township Treasurer Cooper. It was the opinion of OCE staff that the county's offer to settle was reasonable. No further points were made by Commissioner Hoffman, and we agreed to defend our current offer at the MTT. Summer of 2018, Commissioner Hoffman continued to speak negatively about Oakland County Equalization and our handling of his MTT case. On August 30th, 2018, Dave Heber sent a letter to the State Tax Commission, a jurisdiction that has general oversight over the assessing process in Michigan. The STC's review stated that our offer to settle was too favorable in their opinion, based on the percentage of commercial versus agricultural due to the use of the wine tasting room. By the way, all these letters are in your packet too for your review. On October 9th, 2018, there was a meeting at Commissioner Hoffman's request that included Oakland County Deputy Executive and CIO, myself, Phil Bertolini, Oakland County Management Budget Director Lori Van Pelt, Oakland County Assistant Corporation Counsel Peter Mena, Chairman of the Oakland County Board of Commissioners Mike Gingell, and Oakland County Commissioner Robert Hoffman, and Tom Elkins, I believe he was a petitioner's representative, and the Oakland County Equalization Officer Dave Heber. The purpose of this meeting was for Commissioner Hoffman to address his complaints about Oakland County Equalization. As you can see by the above timeline, Commissioner Hoffman has had ample meetings and opportunities to voice his concerns. and his issue that he is simply not prevailing at the MTT. Furthermore, Court of Appeals case for the tax year 2017 was denied for lack of merit in the grounds presented. Highland Township Supervisor Hamill's comments during the March 6, 2019 meeting were as follows. Highland's goal is to maintain a rural environment, and the excess taxes on rural properties are causing owners to sell, and when things aren't right, you stand up for your rights. This statement was clearly intended to agree with Commissioner Hoffman's inflammatory public comments. Supervisor Hamill also implied that Commissioner Hoffman is being targeted because he has money. This statement is completely false and without merit and beneath the dignity of the chief elected official. Oakland County will not pursue an assessing contract where township supervisor makes derogatory comments about the dedicated assessing professionals assigned by Oakland County. We can't and we won't work with public officials who launch blameless, defamatory public attacks on our staff. The township supervisor's free speech right does not trump our staff's right to be free from such slander. It evidences a breach of trust necessary to ensure an effective working relationship. We also find it unacceptable that the Highland Township clerk and treasurer, after having been fully aware of the above timeline, sat quietly and did not publicly debunk Oakland County Commissioner Hoffman's false narratives. Please accept this letter as official notice that the assessing contract between Oakland County Equalization and Highland Township will not be renewed. We wish the people of Highland Township the best, and we will ensure a continued review of the township's assessing practices going forward in accordance with the General Property Tax Act. And that's what we do at Oakland County. We follow the law. I open it for any questions if you have any for me.
Yeah, I'm going to make a statement.
Go for it.
When you say Hamill implied, if you want, I'll play the whole March 6th event right here on the screen tonight, and the people can see that what I did is I explained very clearly to the students that were in our audience how everything works. I never implied or said that you guys did anything wrong, ever. You used the word implied, sir. You use the word as derogatory. Highland's goal is to maintain rural environment, and excess taxes on rural properties are causing owners to sell. That is exactly true, sir. It doesn't say anything about you guys assessing excessive taxes. We have an individual, Terry, here, who is in our office on almost a daily basis. Phenomenal individual. All of your staff are phenomenal people. But, sir, you have an individual in your employ, Mr. Heber, who seems to have a problem with anything that goes on with Mr. Hoffman. Now you've transferred Mr. Heber's problem and Mr. Hoffman's issues with you guys to us, because I listened to what Mr. Hoffman had to say because he's a constituent in our township. He pays taxes here. Who do you work for?
Oakland County.
And who is it that supplies you with your money, sir? Taxpayers.
You got that right.
You need to respect the fact that the taxpayers have the first right to be able to listen to. Mr. Hoffman, I don't care if the guy's a whack or not. He came to me with some information that just didn't completely make sense, so I looked at it. And that's all I did. And when I went to the appeals thing, where Mr. Heber was in the bathroom when I went in there, and he snubbed me like you wouldn't believe. He never said boo, hi, or what. The reason I went there was to represent Highland Township. Because when this thing was all said and done, the judge said, now, is there any way that we can work this out between the two of you? I was speaking for Highland Township. And I said, I don't see any reason why we couldn't work this out. Mr. Hoffman says the same thing. And what does our subcontractor say? Absolutely not. So, sir, you work for us under that contract. You work for us.
I work for myself. I'm a citizen of Oakland County as well. And, sir, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what's disgusting.
You're being disgusting to me,
Okay,
so
that's okay.
go ahead,
That's okay.
spit it
I'm
out.
all right with it. I'm all right with it. Because you know why? The people of Oakland County Equalization have followed the law. I began my career at Oakland County with Equalization. I worked up there. I helped build that team. And for them to be talked about as corrupt and a criminal enterprise or incompetent. Now, I know those are Commissioner Hoffman's words.
They're not my words,
I'm
sir.
going to repeat them all high and heavy to everybody that will listen, because you know why? They don't deserve it. They work hard every day. They follow the law. We have one of the top equalization departments in the entire state of Michigan. And I would stack them up against anybody that ever came in front of them. We reviewed this. I met with Commissioner Hoffman myself in the same meeting. The meeting was interesting, to say the least. He brought up a bunch of other assessing issues that are in a community that we don't even assess. So as far as I'm concerned, he does not know what he's talking about. And if you guys want to go ahead and you want to believe him, and there were comments on the tape, sir, and we can watch the tape together if you'd like, about you couldn't believe what's happening to this guy. You couldn't believe what's happening to him. The bad things we were doing to one of our own commissioners, who said he was a private citizen, but then said, I'm also making comments as an Oakland County Commissioner.
All right, well, you've made your point, Mr. Bertolini. We appreciate that you've come forward and decided to pull the contract.
Yeah.
And I know that I have a community full of people that believe I would not do anything that would be as you've suggested. And on that point, this is probably the best way to make this thing happen. You've decided to pull the plug on it.
Correct.
That's a good thing, because I'm going to go into one more statement. And this is a firm belief on my part. Sorry, Gary, but I'm going to go ahead with this. I don't believe that Oakland County should be running assessing, because I think it's a conflict of interest. When you've got a commissioner and you've got an assessing department, you've got a conflict of interest. That should be private enterprise. I understand there's a lot of communities that can't seem to find assessors, but part of it is because it's being taken away by counties. And you have taken away local control. So the local control by state statute states that the township is the assessor. You subcontract because we thought that that was the right thing to do. You did. You've done a great job. This is one instance, sir. One instance. And you're taking this one instance and a lot of comments that Mr. Hoffman made, and you're going down this table and smacking us all in the face. We didn't smack you in the face. Mr. Hoffman did. You asked me because I went to that meeting. I was Mr. Heber, not talking to the assessor, who was the one that signs the contract with you guys, goes to the back door and goes to our treasurer and says, hey, we're going to pull your contract if Mr. Hamill doesn't straighten up. Wow. She's pretty ticked off because I'm screwing things up. Well, you know what? It's my job to make sure that I look at everything that happens and what's fair in this community. You may not think what's happened is fair. Mr. Hoffman made a lot of comments. Mr. Heber's made a lot of comments. He's made just as many derogatory comments about Mr. Hoffman. So it's let those two go outside in the parking lot and duke it out. That's their problem.
Well, that's not how professionals handle their business.
Exactly, but that's how the professionals are handling it. And that's what's sick about this, is that we should have been having a conversation, Mr. Heber and I. You know how many times we've talked? 4 times in 6 years. You know how many times you and I have talked? First time. 6 years. I think that's abysmal. I've been to many meetings where you've been, and you've never once introduced yourself to me.
I didn't know who you were.
Shame on you.
And shame on
We
shame
employed
on
you.
Sir, you could have come up and said hello to me as well.
I have.
So when you can handle your business however you need to handle
We're going to do that.
as a township, and I respect you for it, and I want the people of Highland Township to know that we did everything we could to handle this. If a county commissioner chose to put himself in the middle of it and then cause all this controversy, he's yours. You can handle it. We're all set. Thank you, sir.
Well, you got your 10 minutes on the TV, and
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that
I'll
the
make sure
rest
I
of the
play it
public
for- I'll
knows
Make sure I
it.
play it for all the employees at Equalization that were bad-mouthed, and their reputations were tarnished, because someone got to make those comments, and you, sir,
If Mr.
on the video, and I can watch it again if you'd like, you said, I can't believe what's happening, David. I have that. I can find the time on the video if you'd like. So you can say you're innocent, you can say you're doing the people's business, but understand, when you let a taxpayer, like Commissioner Hoffman, who is, we are following the law and appraising his property, and if you allow him to operate that way, we won't operate, and we don't do that because we don't believe we should subjugate ourselves to that kind of behavior. So thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. And Terry Dewey, I'd like to apologize to you if anything has come negative of this. I'm sorry that you and your team have been put in the middle of it. It is not something that I feel, I'm going to say proud of, but I've done nothing wrong. You can lay all the words out you want to lay out,
And I will.
and you did.
Thank you.
And it can be judged by our community, so thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Before you leave, I'd like to say something too. I want to thank the employees of equalization. You've done a stellar job for us. It's really sad to me. I'm incredibly proud to live in Oakland County. And I mean, you go to all these state things, and it's like they don't even want to hear about Oakland County because we're stellar, right? So a few personalities got in the way, and the really sad part is it doesn't affect any of those personalities. It affects Terry, it affects my staff, and it affects the rest of the people that come into Highland Township that have done a great job for us. And I want to make sure that the public knows that we know the kind of job that you did. And it's just too bad it had to end this way.
So we're a couple $100 too.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Mr. Hamel, one comment.
Yes.
It has never been this board's practice to attempt to censure public comment. We will never attempt to do that unless it violates the freedom of speech. You cannot control what a speaker says. And we have a rule that says we don't respond to that. That's all.
Well, when it becomes personal like that, I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying in terms of Mr. Hoffman's comments at the 2 meetings, that is free speech.
Exactly.
It's allowed, and we don't censor it. We don't control what comes out of someone's mouth.
We tried. We gave him 3 minutes one time, and it didn't work. But that's very unfortunate. It's unfortunate that
Let's move on.
this whole thing went down this way. I think what you need to do is if you go to March 6th on the YouTube and you listen to what I had to say, you're going to question, what are they talking about? And that's, my wife and I both watched it last night. I can't see where anything that I said involved anything that they're inferring. And as you heard, implied. So we'll move on. Item number 9, and I'm sorry you guys had to put up with this, but part of politics. Public hearing, I'd like to open a public hearing for a use requiring special approval submitted by applicant B.F. Thompson, P.C., property owner 2675S Highland Holding Company, LLC, for self-storage facilities east of the existing Tuffy Muffler and Commercial Building, parcel number 1134326015, also known as 2675 South Milford Road in Highland. Public meeting is opened at 7:02. Any comments? Yes, sir. Your name and address, please.
My focus adjusted in the right direction. Here is clear. Robert Pierce, I live at 236 Burnerwood Drive, Highland, Michigan, part of subdivision. I've resided there since the inception of the subdivision. Unfortunately, as my gray hair points out, about 27 years here. So I just have a few comments and one real basic question, if I might. In reading through the special use permit, and maybe I perhaps missed something, and perhaps the township attorney can clarify that, it would appear to me on reading it that the special use permit that you're about to approve tonight does not take effect until after the development is constructed. Is that correct? Am I reading what is in the actual document correctly?
Yes.
Okay, so the actual the development gets built, and then you get the special use permit.
Which permits the use of the buildings that are built.
That are built, yeah, okay. I just wanted to be clear on that. I wasn't entirely sure how that worked around. A couple of quick observations. I'm here in opposition to the project as it is described and as it has been proposed for a lot of different reasons. One of the things that's come up and has been proffered is that yes, in fact, this site has been classified as a C2 for quite a number of years, and I suspect that in the beginning of time, chicken and egg, master plan came first, or did the ordinance come first? My guess is master plan came first, followed by ordinance. I'm not quite old enough to remember that. But those two items are really important because a lot of residents, myself included, and a lot of other people in the township have moved to the township to not be around commercial development, to not live next to commercial development. So when you look at what's being there, you look at zoning and you look at what the master plan says. Master plan says residential. Zoning says J. Chevrolet was probably already there, so let's shove it into C2. There's not too many C2 spaces in the township. All of the C2 spaces that are currently in the township, if my recollection serves me correctly, are not adjacent to a residential development that closely. I'm not gonna say that they're not. There's some residential developments that are near, but not that close. We're looking at BDUs. Understanding that that's the case, and if you look at what self-storage facilities are, there are a lot of different varieties and everything. One of the other comments that was brought up is, yes, self-storage is a different kind of use than is allowed in the C2. One of the things that's also happened is since the development of Briarcliff and other subdivisions that are immediately adjacent to the property, there have been changes made to the zoning ordinance, and there's also been changes made which allow specifically the use of the property to be used for self-storage. So it doesn't really predate what's actually happened in terms of what the actual zoning classification is. It really doesn't. The other item that you might be, need to kind of understand, I think, too here, is that if we look at the chicken and egg, we're here because the residents that have moved here and lived here don't want to be in a commercial development. Granted that the site has its problems, there are issues. One reason probably that the site has not been developed for this entire period of time, there's a cost involved. And the other thing is that the township has evolved. We've had evolution in the township. There's been people move to the township that like to live here, that enjoy the environment. They don't want to look at, out their back window, any kind of commercial development. You can screen it, you can do a lot of things to make it a little bit better, but still, it's not there. I mean, if I went around and asked board members if somebody was to move a development that's within 60 feet of your house right now, would you really want to have that happen? Probably not. The site itself and economic development, there's probably all kinds of reasons why it hasn't happened as such. There's a lot of things that need to happen. We've had some, what I will consider, threats made by the developer. If we don't get our way and we don't get this particular item passed, then I'm gonna go back and we're gonna see what else we can do with other C2 development. So those are not taken really well by the residents and are well documented in the meeting minutes that the residents have attended. Veiled threats really don't do a whole lot. The reality there is that if you decide you're going to build the Big Mac burger place there, it's not gonna go too well. And it'll probably cost everybody a whole lot of money. I just wanted to make sure that I did understand, and I'm glad that the special use permit is there, but the problem with that is that we have no specific landscaping plan that's going on there. The developer has been very good about adding some additional space there. Basically, the residents are gonna end up having to do their own plantings, but the developer has also proposed some things. I didn't see in the buffer area, I think Mr. Beach suggested to the Planning Commission that there be conifers planted. I don't necessarily see that in the plan. There's items like no hours of operation, no operator owner. We're talking with the developer. I doubt that the current developer is going to own it. He's not going to operate it. I don't know that for an absolute fact, but my guess is that's generally how these facilities are developed. It's basically silent on outside storage. It says it's not planned. Well, not planned and not allowed are two different things. The residents, if for some reason this all works through, don't want to be at the township and in court trying to get things accomplished that we could have accomplished long before that by not even having the development. I think we're back to the drawing board on some things. I think there needs to be some fine tuning and some consideration here that needs to take place. The reality of whether the development gets built or not is another story, but the residents that are currently there, then you look at 40 some odd homes and the people that live in them and reside in them and like it here. suddenly now have a development that's also present, that's also gonna degrade property values. There's no mistake about that. And now the use and enjoyment that I have in my house has been diminished by that development. So the ability for the residents and the developer to reach some kind of agreement may be there on some other type of development, but not on the self-storage. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Public comment? Yes, sir?
My name's Mike Seaball, 210 Briarwood Drive. Just wanted to reiterate a couple things that Bob mentioned here, but really just wanted to cite zoning ordinance, Chapter 25, Article 6, Section 603, subsection H2 states all special land uses shall be compatible and harmonious with the surrounding land. Uses taking into consideration the size, location, and character of the proposed special land use within the context of the surrounding land uses in the master plan. Furthermore, the proposed special land use shall not cause substantial injury to the value of other property in the area in which it is located. You know, when you take into consideration some of the things that Bob mentioned there, you know, I don't see how a self-storage unit is harmonious with the neighborhood, with the residents. I don't see how it matches up with what you guys have as your master plan. And I think that, you know, if you were to approve this special land use, it's in direct violation of what you have here in the ordinance. So just wanted to go on record to say that. So I oppose it.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening, my name is Lance Pritchard, and I reside at 276 Briarwood Drive. To reiterate what Mike and Bob said, I completely agree. I understand you're responsible for expanding the tax base within Highland Township. I just don't believe that a self-storage unit so close to a residential area is appropriate. I urge and ask that you vote no. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing at 7:11. And next item, item 10, is consideration of use requiring special approval, case 1805, submitted by applicant B.F. Thompson PC and property owner 2675 South Highland Holding, LLC, for self-storage facilities east of existing Tuffy Muffler, commercial building, parcel 1134-326-015, also known as 2675 South Milford Road, Highland. So I guess I'll make a motion to approve so we can also have discussion. So I move to approve the use requiring special approval for case 1805 as submitted by applicant B.F. Thompson PC and property owner 2675 South Highland Holding LLC. Support?
For the sake of discussion, I'll support it.
Okay. So discussion. I think I'd like to ask a question of the property owner.
Who is the property owner?
Would you mind standing up there, Jeff? Jeffrey Hine.
Jeff Hine, 1310 Pettigola, Lake Road, Highland.
Would you consider selling that property to the property owners adjoining it?
I think everything's for sale. They've never come to me to inquire about it. But.
Okay, and I have a reason for asking that. Mr. Pritchard, we go way back.
Yes, sir.
I understand how you guys feel about this thing. It's a weird situation. I think what you just heard from the individual property owner is that it's for sale. And you may have moved here assuming that it would never change, but unfortunately that property's been commercial since as long as I've lived here in the 60s, early 60s. And it was formerly an automobile dealership. And the other part of this is that I have paid very close attention to these storage facilities, with the exception of one crazy one that we had with a couple of obnoxious users over off of Wardlow Road. They're quiet, they're hardly used. The people stuff the things full of junk. They walk away and they pay nice revenue to the person who maintains the properties. The individuals, the engineer, they've done as hard a process as they could on these to make sure the lighting is low. These buildings are low. I'm sure that if you work, that Mr. Highland is willing to, do the screening. He's never said in the meetings I've been to that he wasn't willing to do that. But he tonight made an offer. I made an offer for him. If you don't like it, buy it. And you can stop it right now. You guys can turn it into a park. Get your subdivision together, round up the money and buy it. Make him an offer. He's going to have to spend money to make money. And so there's a number there that he would entertain, I'm sure, to sell that property. And then everything you've said would come true and we could turn that into a different zoning and blah, you're done. And that's the problem here. He owns it. You guys don't. And it's that irony of, unfortunately, moving next to something that you assumed would probably not change. And it is kind of, I get it. I mean, I understand that. So that's kind of what I'm getting at right now. That question, I asked it because that's a solution. Telling him that you don't want him to build there is one side of the picture. There's an avenue to make that happen. It's open, the door's open. So maybe that's what we need to do with it. I don't know. Do you fellows that spoke, do you feel that's an option or a viable option? Is that something you guys could accomplish? Could you get the entire subdivision to get on board to buy it?
It's difficult to answer at this moment.
Pardon me?
That's difficult to answer at this moment.
Well, I'm not saying that you can answer it because you haven't got a price and all that other stuff, but I think, and I don't know, I'm not trying to poke something in this, Jeff, where it blows it up and puts another time frame in there, but maybe there's an avenue here. Tell me if I'm getting off base here, but
Well, you've said as much as you can.
I think that there's an opportunity. Is that something that, would the property owner and the subdivision people who spoke consider that? Is that something you
Mr.
would?
Hamel, they can't answer that question, but, because they would need time.
Right.
From what I heard from the public comments, on the assumption that you can find it to be compatible with the neighborhood, I heard comments about dissatisfaction with the amount of landscaping. Landscaping is typically the way that a developer can make something more compatible. If I'm understanding correctly, the plans currently don't show, I remember when I read the packet, it was like to leave an area natural to grow up, right? If I remember, am I right
That's what
there?
it says,
Yep.
There were no new plantings proposed.
Right.
So if this board wanted to see that, you don't have to act on it tonight. You may postpone your decision with instructions as to what you'd like to see come back. In other words, you're not bound by what the planning commission looked at. You look at their recommendations, but you're the decision maker. So if the board wanted to provide the developer and owner an opportunity to explore your concept, but at the same time address concerns that have been raised by at least 4 speakers that seem to be supported by the plans, you can postpone and ask the developer to present a modified and enhanced landscaping plan along the boundary of the residential subdivision.
Yes, Mr. Thompson.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor and board members. By the way, I'm Brad Thompson, the engineer and surveyor for the project. In the minutes of the planning commission, it was brought up, I believe, by Mr. Beach that, and I think it's in the minutes. I haven't looked at it, but I don't know if they've been included since then. But that it was suggested that we include additional landscaping in areas that were sparse or there was no buffer areas. Mr. Highland, I think very graciously offered to not do anything in 25 feet along the eastern property line and the southern property line, and to allow that to remain in a natural buffer area. That also includes quite a few existing trees, shrubs, etc. But in areas that had no trees and no buffer between the residential units and the proposed area, that Mr. Highland could add, and he agreed to this, at least to me, that we would add additional, probably evergreens in the area that were sparse at the current time.
It does say that.
Doing that work.
It says pines or other evergreens would be planted behind the chain link fence.
Yes. And one other item, it was brought up that, well, I don't want to get into response to the members of the public. I just want to remind the board that what they're voting on tonight has got nothing to do with the existing C2 that's there that allows us to put in a litany of what I would consider more intense uses. The only thing that they're voting on is the allowance to put in a special use that would allow specifically self-storage, which I think is less obtrusive to the neighbors, even though they don't think so. So that's all I have to say, but if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to attempt to respond to.
I have a question, just in general. How come, why is it just certain areas, and how, when did that become C2? Has it been that way forever? And like, how come that area is, how did, I guess when they put the master plan together, master plan person, how do they decide that, I see there's one up there, two off Lakeview, there's a red also. How do they determine what becomes C2, I guess, and just, like, it seems very sporadic to me. I just don't know what the, I mean, I understand some's lake, it's lake and villages and so on and so forth, but office service, I understand that, for office buildings. How come that's C2 in that spot and nobody else around? And I guess up farther, there's one red spot too, is it? How do they?
My guess is it's because it was existing.
Okay,
It was there before.
okay. So just basically grandfathered in probably when they did it, I would assume something like that, where they would just.
Okay, so
What's the boundary of the existing?
to kind of, I brought this picture up as part of the concept that most people haven't looked at. They haven't gone out to the site. But if you'll notice that right there is the property line, and all of this vegetation is in the current proposed 20 some odd foot zone that the property owner has agreed that he wouldn't touch, which means there's the vegetation in its natural state, which the individual property owners are already looking at. And so, and I think that the comment was made that the property owner would, as through the, what Judy just got done reading here, would infill as necessary to make that screening meet that requirement. So I threw a little clinker in there only because I wanted the homeowners to understand there's other resolutions if you're not happy. But there is things that we have to look at that are requests that come in like this, and they have specific rights by ownership of the property to make these requests, and it's there in our legal process to follow. So that's, as Mr. Thompson said, that's what we're here to do, is to allow for that to move forward.
The eastern border.
The eastern border is also fairly heavily.
Okay.
And so here you see this void here. That's one where you'd put in some evergreens, and I think talk to the individual owners. But
what was that buffer zone depth going
25,
east?
25 feet.
25 feet.
Yes, ma'am.
I serve on the planning commission also because we have to have one trustee on the planning commission. And we had more than one set of plans that were brought in, and concessions were made, and Mr. Highland changed different things on it. I believe you changed where the driveway was gonna come in to
Yes.
the road so they have been working and made a lot of changes because of the suggestions from the planning commission to try to, make it favorable for both sides. So I just wanna say that he really has worked with things that have been mentioned by the planning commission.
Has there been a team of neighbors working with Mr. Hine on this to talk about that?
Not that I'm-
Well, I've reached out to them. Well, initially, we had a meeting with everyone, but since then I've talked with 2 or 3 that, I'm talking about the actual neighbors that border the east or the south.
Mhm.
Not, I think the 3 people that spoke, I don't believe they even live, or maybe I'm wrong.
Does that really matter?
Well,
We're
no,
property,
I'm
we're
just-
property owners, and whether we live there or not, we still have to
That's-
look at it.
I haven't talked to you personally.
I know.
I've been
I'm just
talk-
making-
I've
just
been
making
talking
that
to the
comment.
Oh, okay.
border, because I wanted to reach out to them, I have sensitivity, and we've done a lot of things there with the vegetation and the 25-foot. I mean, if you walk the site, you realize how,
It's dense.
it's very screened with natural vegetation. And we're giving 25 feet to their backyard so that, there's a nice buffer there.
And well, this is a discussion period, and if this is a public comment, that should have happened in the,
It was in reference to what he was saying,
you want to hear it?
Has it been C2 prior to the residents being developed?
Yes.
All the residents knew it was C2.
Yes.
Well, they may or may not have known it, but I mean, until this came up, but and most people don't.
Tammy and I went out there, it's dense.
Yeah,
I
Judy
mean,
and I
you-
attempted to walk the property and we
There's
couldn't
no
even
way.
penetrate into it and let alone, or see more than 10 or 15 feet into the property.
And then we drove up and down the south and the east streets in the subdivision. And there was a couple places that we could see the fence, but you couldn't see it all the way through because of the vegetation.
All right.
Is all that being clear though? I mean, I think we understand the 25-foot buffer, but yeah, it's dense, you can't see beyond that picket fence, but is the initial plan to wipe all that out?
No.
And put in evergreens?
No,
Mm-mm.
it'll be left natural, the way you see it. If you want to plant a tree in there too, if you have a particular visibility, where you want to block it or something, you can plant a tree.
Oh, all right, yes, Brett.
Just as clarification for the residents and the board members. My construction plans will start at 25 feet off of the east and off of the south. That's it. We're not doing anything in the 25 feet.
And you have setbacks on top of that, correct?
And then, then we will go into our area and we have at least 10 feet before we can get to any pavement. And then we have the pavement before we get to the buildings. So there's another 35 to 40 feet, 45 feet in some areas that we have from the 25-foot strip before you get to an actual building.
Yeah, I think it's 59 feet.
59 feet.
From the property line to any building. And it's probably 35 feet of green belt.
Okay. What's that? Go ahead, ma'am.
We talked a lot about this 25 feet. What if this property is sold to somebody that's interested in buying the business? Can they kind of blow out that whole 25 feet that you have, kind of promised? How does that work?
No. Even after it's built.
After it's built, if you were to sell it, what if somebody comes in and said, oh, maybe we'll put skinny ones here and blow out the 25 feet? Because I am up some of the facts where that's where I'm at. First house on the left. So I mean, this is literally my backyard. And we sit high, so we're looking right down there. I don't care how high you build a fence, we're on a hill. So it's a concern. I have kids too.
Gary?
I don't know if the planning commission recommended that as a condition of special approval, but the board certainly can impose a special condition of influence with the land, and you would prohibit the 25 feet from ever being interfered with.
Well, you know, I don't think that's necessary.
I didn't say it was necessary, that's up to them.
No, I'm
Saying
just
they can
saying
do
that you're saying that if I sold it when it was in operation, then it could be changed. That's what you're worried about.
I'm not speaking for the residents, I'm telling this board that they can impose a condition that requires, in effect, conservation easement for that 25-foot buffer, which prohibits the removal of any vegetation. It's a legal thing they may do in the discretionary land use decision.
That's our intent, really, just, that's why we did it.
Exactly.
Do you have an opposition to something like that? I understand what she's saying, but I think what happens is if somebody buys that property, they're gonna, because it's a special use, if they change the use, it's gonna have to go through a whole new process, and all that stuff gets worked out.
Or if, say, years from now, storage wasn't,
Like a viable.
in vogue or whatever, then someone else could come in, it would revert back to C2. I mean, if they removed all the storage buildings, am I correct? It would revert back to C2. Then you go from there. I mean, it's not as simple as that.
And I'm saying the board can impose that condition permanently on that land.
I mean, I've never used for anything else other than a storage unit.
No,
The 25-foot buffer.
Well, I understand the buffer.
Yes, sir.
As part of the special use approval,
Yes.
so it is tied in with the special use. That, I think Mr. Hines' question is what if, in 20 years from now, nobody wants to do
It's just not a viable business anymore, yeah.
and it is, the land is quite valuable. Malls come back into rage, and right now, C2, a mall can be put on that site without any special use. So, what we're here talking about tonight is a part of the special use, and that's what we agreed to in the site plan process, and also in the special use process, we agreed to that 25 foot, that we would leave it in a natural buffer area. No construction.
I would just like that preserved.
We can put that in.
And we agreed, because I don't think anybody can run it as a self-storage unit without adhering to that special use requirement.
Gary, can you,
But
I'm sorry. Gary, could you clarify, so if we were to make that a condition of the special use for the 25 foot to remain undisturbed, and then if they abandon the special use, would that conservation go away?
Wouldn't have to.
Or could we make the motion in such a way that it would?
Be
Would
permanent.
go away.
Yeah, that would be tied to the use.
Sure. Or you can make it permanent.
Well, I think tying it to the use
Yeah, we have no
makes
problem
sense.
tying it to the use, because that's why we invented it in the beginning to, you know, bigger separation, better buffer, more vegetation screen. I mean, literally, I don't think you can even see through there. Can you?
I can. In fact, I think I saw you guys
I walked
walking.
it, I know where your house is in wintertime.
Well, we were down by Tuffy.
Well,
I was gonna say, we were by
I saw you
Tuffy.
guys walk. I saw the ladies walking,
Uh-huh.
because my dog was.
It is thick, though, is what I'm saying.
It is thick, but not in the winter.
Ladies.
I think for Allison's concern is not necessarily self-storage. I think it's a matter of if he sells it, somebody else operates it as self-storage, and they decide that they want to reclaim 25 extra feet, move the fences back, and park boats and RVs and all other kinds of stuff there. I think that's the nature of the concern.
Then I think that would be the responsibility of whatever board or planning commission is in effect at that time.
But if you put it as a conservation easement, then you don't have another board having to worry about it, it's set. It's protection for the residents to call it a conservation easement. And I wouldn't object to if the special use goes away, then the conservation easement goes away too. I mean, it might be something better, who knows, but I think for their protection now, that's the best case scenario, is to call it a conservation easement that can't.
That follows a special use
No
permit.
parking on it, no storage on it, no use of it at all.
Yes.
I believe that Mr. Hine would be perfectly acceptable to a limited conservation easement that is tied to the special use. And that's it, but I think that's happening anyways by you, and I'm not an attorney. But if you, our requirement is that we're giving 25 feet that we're not touching as a part of that special use agreement. Now, you can call it an easement, but most easements I'm aware of usually are run for an unlimited period.
So the
of time.
language in the special use defines that as a untouched buffer.
Yes, a natural buffer area is what we refer to it, and the purpose is that we're not doing anything with it. The dozer's supposed to stop right there.
And I'm not concerned of these two doing that. I'm concerned about if they were to sell it, say, in 2 years to somebody else.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What I'm saying is the special use is there,
Yeah.
in my opinion, to allow that use to continue. So as long as they use that property, whoever owns it, as a self-storage facility, it has to have that 25 foot and any other requirements that are part of that special use agreement. And again, I don't mean to, that's my understanding and Mr. Hines' understanding is
Right.
of that. If you're giving it to us for a special use privilege on this, then we have to adhere to what we have said, and that 25 feet is what we agreed to.
And any future owner would too, merely by the site plan.
You're not giving it to us, you're giving it to the
the
special
property.
use on the land.
Yeah, the special use follows the owner.
Is it to the owner?
It goes to the next, so it would,
Oh, okay.
it
So
would transfer,
to the land.
right, to the land.
Right, so I think the residents are saying if it was a conservation easement, they would feel more comfortable knowing if you sell it, the next guy, that conservation easement still stands. And so they don't have to worry about some new owner coming in and parking RVs in that 25 foot. I think that's,
But that'd be unlawful. They can't do that. And the township can come in and,
I'm just saying it's more comfort
Protect
for
it.
them. You know, to call it conservation easement just gives them more comfort and more assurances that that's not gonna happen in the future.
Earlier, I made a comment about did some of the neighbors get together and maybe have a general informal discussion with Mr. Hind and all? And I say this only because when I moved out here 25 years ago on Dunham Drive, and there was an issue with the property owners and the owner of the adjacent land that was supposed to be parked. And for 3 years, they argued about it and had lawyers. And I moved in and I said, well, does anybody ever go and talk to the man? Well, no. So I went and talked to him, and within 6 weeks, we worked out an arrangement that was feasible for everybody. And everybody was happy, and the land was used, and the man was able to sell his property. I'm just saying, sometimes if you don't talk, you don't get to know each other, you can't feel out the situation. If you're, I know everybody out here. This is not easy for me to sit here and make these kind of decisions. But, when you bought your property as a resident, did you know that was C2? Did you know it was commercial? Did you ask? Did you look? I'm not saying you're bad because you didn't know about it, but it's commercial. One day or sooner or later, somebody could buy and put something else there. So I'm just suggesting that it would be a good idea to meet socially and formally and talk about it so that you at least understand each other much better than coming here and having a discussion on it. So, that's all I want to say.
All right, I think we've discussed this pretty heavily. The motion was to approve, and it was supported, and unless...
Can we make an amendment to it to add what Gary said though, the 25 feet, and put that in our motion? Is that what you're recommending?
I'm saying you
You
may
can
do
do it.
that.
Well,
Apparently it was not a recommendation that came from the planning commission. If I may talk briefly, and I'll try
Sure.
to keep it brief. The property is entirely zone C2. As I heard the comments, this is considered a less intensive use than many permitted uses in the C2 district. These are low-lying buildings. I don't know what the story limit is in the C2, but it's probably 2 stories. My thinking behind a permanent conservation easement was that regardless of what use might be on that property, it's not taking away any of the setback in that district has to be more than 25 feet in the rear or side yard. So if you put a 25-foot conservation easement on that, you're not taking away any development rights no matter what the future use is. Because they can't build, I mean, unless they're not gonna convince the ZBA to give them a variance to build into the setback. So the setbacks are going to protect how close you can get to those boundaries. So a permanent conservation easement should have no effect on a future owner or a future use, including a change of use.
Would it affect their ability to go in there and change the landscaping if they decided at some point they did want to add landscaping in order to increase the screening or something like that?
Within the 25-foot area,
Right.
a conservation easement could be drafted to allow for that. The conservation easement is an agreement that's granted to the township with enforcement rights. And typically you would, for alterations, you would provide for an approval process. Alterations not to be made without township approval.
Brad?
Yes, my only comment there, as far as the easement is concerned, the setback is to a building. And what we're talking about now is creating an easement that we agreed to before that we were not gonna construct in that area, and we were gonna leave it in its natural state. But if we give them an easement, and it's a permanent easement with nothing tied to the use that is being requested for the special use, then that's gonna be there permanently, and it's gonna negatively impact the property 20, 40, 50, 100 years from now. Because it can't be removed, and that's my only concern about that. We agreed on the special use that, look, we're requesting a special use so we can put self-storage in. To do that, Mr. Hines said, all right, I will give them a natural buffer area as part of that, because that was a concern of theirs at our initial meeting that Mr. Hine requested informally and invited all the adjacent property owners to back in November, December, right? Wasn't it? And we had that prior to any, coming to any township meeting. So we did try to have an informal meeting. We got some, information from the residents, etc. And, but my concern with an easement is the permanency of that, and that it extends past any special use.
We're tying this to the plan. We're not gonna deviate from the plan. The future, if I sold it, the future owner cannot deviate as well. Or Highland Township can, give them the violations, but it's not gonna happen. It's sort of redundant if we put a conservation easement on the special use, because it's, I mean, it's already there. We're leaving it natural.
Well, I know that the planning commissioners nitpick, and I don't mean that in a negative way, they nitpick these things very, very much. And if that appeared to be an issue, they probably would have suggested a permanent, conservation area. So I think on that basis, I don't want to change my motion. I think the motion should go to approve as the special use is requested, because I believe that we do have the horsepower to make sure that it doesn't deviate, and that these individuals and whoever else may at some future point in time come along will be required to maintain that same space. So I think it becomes a semantics thing, and I think, like I said, I think the Planning Commission did a very thorough job of putting you guys through the process, and I think that it's been generous to be able to give the 25 foot up, because like you said, the required setback is 25 feet. That means the building can be there. And so you could have buildings 25 feet away instead of 59 feet away. So there's benefit to the way it's set up. So that's my motion. It was seconded, so I guess.
Can I ask a question of the engineer, just so we all hear it? So if it goes forward as stands, we're all talking about the 25 feet of vegetation that's there currently being retained. If this all gets approved and the dozers come back, is there going to be a tape 25 feet out that runs parallel to the property lines on the southern and eastern perimeters? Is that what we're agreeing to here? Or is that what you're agreeing to?
When you say a tape.
Tape
There's gonna be
measure.
a fence there.
Well,
The extended tape measure 25 feet from her
yes,
backyard property
from the
line.
property line. Yes.
Everything 25 feet out to her property line, whatever may be there now is retained.
Yes, that's the whole purpose of this. It's like adding to their backyard. Well, yeah. Right, all my construction plans.
The fence is at 25 feet.
I say there's a fence there,
There'll
right?
be a new fence.
Exactly.
I don't have fence, the wooden fence is not on my property.
No, but there's going to be a new fence.
Right.
That's at the 25 feet that actually puts your backyard at that fence. I mean, you can trespass if you don't tell anybody, but the new fence is going to be 25 feet inside his property.
Right. No, I
So-
understand that. That's why I was hoping it was gonna be a permanent situation as opposed to somebody comes in and.
I think that's pretty
rips it up.
permanent.
Well, that's what I.
Yeah.
It is a permanent situation as long as the use,
So as long as there's
the
storage units.
property is used for what the special use is being approved for.
Right.
And, yes, and to answer your question, yes, it's 25 feet is what it's designed to. If we end up constructing this, I probably will be the one that's out there staking the stuff out, and believe me, I've worked here a long time, and I do that because I've gained, I think, most of the trust of these people, but also the planning commission members, and because I don't say stuff and then renege on it. And it's, in my opinion, it's in the documentation. I mean, we have special use, we've agreed that you give us the special use, we will leave that first 25 feet on the south and the east part that's adjacent to the residences, the lots or the units that the residences are on in its natural state. 25 feet from your property line out.
Okay, so
Let's vote.
let's vote.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
I vote yes.
Yes.
No.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Thank you, folks, for coming. I think we discussed it as thoroughly as we could, and I think that I think you'll find that it will work out better than worse. So, and I do trust that these people will do what they say they're going to do, because they've spent their entire lives in this community doing things that have improved the community as well. So, Thank you, guys, appreciate it. So, and thank you for coming out to express your opinion. Next item is, so we can move it along, I'm gonna make a motion to adopt zoning ordinance amendment Z014 to revise definitions and regulations relative to elderly housing and to establish regulations for community living facilities.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
I vote yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, next item, I'm gonna move to adopt ordinance number 467, Charter Township of Highland marijuana establishment prohibition.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mr. Salvia?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
The next item, I make the motion to rescind May 8th, 2019 action providing appraisal instructions and authorizing officer to offer to purchase for fire station site. That was something that Gary gave us.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's seconded.
So this is to undo the action we took after closed session at the last meeting, basically because circumstances have changed and we want to alter things a little bit before we make another motion or offer.
Okay.
So it's been,
Thank you for clarifying
vote,
that.
please.
Mrs. McDonald?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, the next item, new business, consider approval of assessing contract. I don't think anybody's here for that, are they? Would you like to introduce yourselves? I'll do a little preempting here. As some of you witnessed, Oakland County has decided to no longer support us with assessing, and I fortunately made the decision that we should do a RFP to make sure that we were covered back in March. And as a consequence, we put it out on the state site, and we were fortunate enough to be able to meet these two gentlemen from Wayne County Assessing. And I think that this is the, we had our interview with them. We were very impressed with their credentials. They've got communities, only one other right now, I think, in Oakland County.
Correct.
But the rest down in south of us here. And they've been doing this for a long time. They've had Canton, is it Canton's 30 years?
1982.
So I'd like to let you guys do a little dog and pony show. Yeah.
Doug Shaw, Aaron Powers from WCA Assessment. Want to get you comfortable with us as a company. We started in 1982. Actually, my father started the company by being the assessor for the Township of Canton and Plymouth Township. Since then, the company's grown to represent Norfolk Township, and then proceeding to then go on to represent 23 communities in Wayne County. We also represent 4 communities in Washtenaw County and the city of Kalamazoo. We also represent 1 community in Oakland County. So you probably wonder, what are we doing up here in Highland Township? There's been, over the recent years, a severe shortage in assessing as far as licensed assessors. We've been contacted by numerous communities throughout those years. We turned away a lot of business unless the situation is right for us. And what's right for us? Typically, it's location. Location to our staff. Our main office is located in the city of Westland. That's where me and Aaron are every day. But our staff, we try to make locations convenient for our staff to commute to. And we have staff within close proximity to Highland Township. We've been in business since 1982. We have a staff of 35 individuals. We have 4 master level assessors on our staff. We have our own legal counsel that we provide. We're a full service assessing provider. I entertain any questions if you have any questions. Or if Aaron would like to add anything.
I usually do all the talking.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Let's see what's going on, Aaron.
I got tired of sitting.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Aaron Powers. I'm also one of the partners and managing directors of WCA. Everything that Doug said is pretty well summed it up. We've been in the business for assessing for quite a long time. We've got a very deep bench, as it were. I know oftentimes that people call us Wayne County Appraisal is actually what the company started as, but as we started to grow and find clients outside of Wayne County, WCA assessing seemed to be a little bit more appropriate. You know, we certainly service as far out west as the city of Kalamazoo, which have been very happy and thankful to have been doing since 2012. We've got a number of clients that have been with us for 30 and odd more years. And we've got a number of clients that we've had for 1 or 2 or 3 years that we've added. We like to find clients when we feel that the mix works out wonderful for us, and we feel that that's the case in this particular situation. Love to answer any questions you may have about us or the company.
Have we lost any clients?
Have we ever lost a client? There's 2 situations. We have, at one time, we had a township that the entire township board was replaced. And at that time, we were asked not to return, just simply because we were in the same, we were the old group and they were the new group, and that was kind of a turnover, which, by the way, is Salem Township, located in Washtenaw County, and I'm certain if you called the township supervisor, they'd provide us a glowing recommendation, and it was simply not because of our work or any issues. And then we also had a client that we have chosen not to renew a contract with. But in those 2 circumstances, out of all of the 30-something plus years, that's it.
It's a good track record.
I'm gonna ask you a stupid question. Are you afraid of the township supervisor here?
No, sir.
We always abide by the laws of assessing and state law, and, you know, we're not here to generate revenue. We always tell our clients that. We're here to make sure that properties are fairly assessed.
There you go. All right, I know I put you on the spot there after the show that we had earlier. Okay, did I make the motion? No, I didn't.
I'll give you language for one.
Would you please? Our attorney's gonna give us language.
Motion to be to accept the May 24, 2019 bid from WCA Assessing to provide assessing services to the township from July 1, 2019 to December 31, 2021, and authorize the supervisor and clerk to sign the contract once it's been approved by the township attorney.
So moved.
All right, that's my motion.
I'll support.
All right, so, vote please.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
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 No.
Yes.
Motion
Thank you very much,
carries.
gentlemen, and we won't charge you for the show. And we'll be talking to you real soon, and we feel very comfortable that we're moving forward, so. All right, thanks. Take care. Okay, the next item is 2 parts. One is, I'm gonna have to get some help from you, Gary, here.
So, just by way of background, Mr. Hoffman has filed appeals with the Court of Appeals from 2 Michigan tax tribunal decisions. One of those decisions dealt with the percentage of agricultural exemption on his property. The other was a more traditional appeal to a valuation suit. The valuation case was MTB docket number 18003-570. The agricultural docket number was 18003-579. My recommendation is that the board address each of those separately, with the question being whether the township wants to authorize our office to file an appearance and defend the case in the Court of Appeals. Our recommendation is that the township should at least defend the valuation appeal, and respect to the agricultural exemption appeal, the monetary amount. The controversy from the decision being challenged is quite nominal, and that one you may want to not in a business decision.
Okay, I'm gonna start with a motion for number 579, the agricultural exemption. I'm going to make the motion that we do not continue in this process to defend that.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
No discussion?
Discussion if you want it.
Anybody? Okay. Mrs. Chenoweth?
Yes.
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 No.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, I'm gonna give somebody else the opportunity for 570.
I would move to, continue to appeal the decision for the,
Motion to authorize the township attorney to defend the appeal.
there we go, for ending in 3570.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
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 No.
Motion carries.
All right, so move on to the next item. Consider June 3rd appeal by Tim Rugg. Mr. Rugg's not here today, so not present. Gary, how do we deal with this? I don't get this thing at all.
I provided the board a letter, I know I provided a date. Mr. Rugg filed a FOIA request on May 22nd, May 23rd, the Senate Coordinator Dawn verbally advised him of the amount of deposit that would be required. He provided that on May 24th. On the morning of June 3, he delivered a letter appealing what he claimed was a denial by the FOIA coordinator of his May 22 request. And it was based on that he didn't get a response on time. FOIA coordinator measured the 5 business days allowed for a response from the date the deposit was given on May 24th. May 24th was a Friday. May 27th was Memorial Day. So that week you have 4 days. The Monday of the next week is June 3rd. The deadline for the FOIA response was June 3rd. On June 3rd, the FOIA coordinator sent the substantive response to Mr. Rugg by mail. Based on that chronology, in a Court of Appeals decision that says that you can measure the time from when the deposit is provided if one was required, in my opinion, the FOIA coordinator was not late in meeting the 5 business day requirement. And secondly, while Mr. Rugg may not have had the documents the morning he delivered his appeal letter, he now has them. I provided you with a letter with suggested action based on that analysis, which would be a motion to deny the appeal because there was no disclosure denial based on a lack of timely response, as claimed by Mr. Rugg, and because the appeal is moved. The response that Mr. Rugg has not received at the time he filed his appeal has been provided to him later that day and within the time allowed for a response. He has not appeared. He was notified that the appeal would be heard by you tonight.
Well, I'll make that motion to deny the appeal as directed by the attorney with that language.
Support.
Moved and supported. Vote or discussion.
Any questions?
Okay, vote please.
I vote yes.
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 Motion carries.
All right. The next item, cash handling and receipting policy. Judy, or Tammy, whichever one you'd like to take this, just for a brief description of why and whatever.
So this is basically a policy that was suggested by our auditors, just to make sure that everybody that handled any kind of cash, there was some kind of consistency and the kind of boundaries and rules were kind of clear. So we've talked about it with every department that handles cash, and this seems to be a workable solution. And sure that everybody understands what the
Judy, I
expectations are.
can't hear you. Can you please speak louder?
I mean, I need to say that all over again.
Well, you got this.
So this is a policy that was suggested by our auditors to make sure that any department that was handling cash was handling it uniformly.
Okay.
And understood what the expectations were as far as handling cash. So it gives you time limits to get any checks that you take or any cash that you take to our office, so there's not money sitting out there, and you know how you store it and that kind of thing.
Got
So
it. Thank you.
we've met with all the departments that handle cash, and they've agreed that this is something that they can work with, and
Okay.
so each person that's responsible for cash will ultimately sign this if approved, and we'll have that in file.
Does it become part of the employee handbook then, that procedure is?
I don't know, would that become part of the
I don't-
employee
it
handbook?
doesn't-
I don't think so.
Would that be part of the employee handbook?
I don't think so. I think we just
No,
keep it
just for
on file in
procedure.
our office, and
But I do like that
Or
everyone
what-
signs it.
If I heard Judy correctly, was that if this is passed, then each person that is subject to this policy will be required to sign off acknowledging that it applies to them and they'll
Right.
comply with it.
Yeah.
That should be sufficient. You know,
Thank you.
if we have another round of amendments to the employee policy manual,
it might.
you know, you could throw it in
That's a
there
good
then,
idea to
but
add it, yeah.
I'm sure Amy would probably appreciate not having to go through that exercise again.
So,
Thank you.
all right, I make a motion to approve the cash handling and receiving policy as presented.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. A vote, please.
Mr. Salvia?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, next item E, Resolution 19-19 to purchase tax foreclosed property.
Just a question, did folks get my revised version?
I did. I figured your comments could be verbally read in.
Very good.
It came late.
So, just if I may.
Yes.
You know, after I saw the information in the packet specifically about Thornton's memo, which identified public purposes, possible public purchases that were not in the resolution in the packet, I provided a revision which would simply add in the third whereas paragraph, after the word including those identified in the Township Planning Director 2 and 5, 2019 memorandum to the Board of Trustees, and continuing what was in there, so. I recognize in the resolution additional possibilities.
And what is the public purpose that we want this for?
This piece of property abuts the parcel that we own on Eleanor. That is 1 point, what is it?
8-7, I think.
1.88 or something like that, 1.87 acres. It would add a 0.55 acres to that parcel, which would improve the value to a potential future use by the township, which I'll throw into a discussion later about refuse. So that'll be the last discussion we have. But it is a piece that was owned by an individual that I would say was abusing the property, so to speak, with dirt and branches and debris like that, and it's a good way to capture that, prevent it from happening in the future, and then also allows for additional space for a facility that we may or may not need at a later date. I think it's a good location for it there. That parcel's already quote polluted, not the one that we're purchasing necessarily, but the one that we already own, so it's not like it's going to add to any particular issues with that parcel, so.
I would move, did we already make a motion?
No.
I would move to approve resolution 19-19 to purchase tax foreclosed property.
With amendments provided by Gary.
There we go.
All right.
With additional language provided by the attorney.
Okay. I'll second the motion.
Okay.
Question?
Yes.
Discussion? What is the cost of that gonna be?
Oh, that's-
we screwed that one up, didn't we?
Well, that,
No, it's in here.
It's in there.
$2,078.20.
there might be fees on top of that. I'm glad that you
number
brought that up.
came straight from what the county
It
sent
did.
us. I thought.
It did, but it seems like, and I meant to call this afternoon and ran out of time to see if there was fees on top of that.
There's gonna be taxes.
Are there all kinds of old cars on this property? I mean, that's what this picture shows.
Yeah, it looks like it's done.
No, that's him parking his equipment there.
So the parcel's empty?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what's on there, is the 2078.20. So I guess we leave it.
Thank you.
That was the number they gave us to use in
It
the
was.
resolution stating that we
Okay,
wanted to.
we're good. I was gonna clarify that today, though.
And I guess they'll let us know if that's different, but, all right, so we, have a motion and a second, so vote please.
Mrs. McDonald?
No.
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Let's see here.
F.
F. Next item is agreement for maintenance and operation of Hickory Ridge Pines Park soccer fields. The previous agreement had timed out, and this was a new agreement to pick up where we left off. And,
It looks identical to the one I provided you.
and it's identical to the one that our attorney provided us. So I'll make the motion to approve the agreement for maintenance and operation of Hickory Ridge Pines Park soccer fields.
Support.
Moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, next item, Chief.
I sent to the board a late request, April 24th, 2019, the Township Board approved a request to hire 2 full-time employees. These employees will serve 2 functions, to assist in providing the needed staffing for our day duty shifts, and assist our training division in providing continuity for our department's fire and EMS training programs. We received numerous applications, vetted all candidates. It's my privilege to recommend Nicholas George as EMS training officer and Dave Kroponic as fire training officer. Mr. George currently works for the Grand Ledge Area Fire Authority and Benton Township Fire and EMS departments, where he provides fire and EMS training for both departments. Mr. George has been in the fire service since 2004 and has fulfilled various roles with progressive responsibility and ranks throughout his career. Mr. George currently holds 2 degrees and numerous state certifications. In addition to his credentials, he also brings life experiences in a rural paid-on-call and combination fire department. Also, I'm worried for my job if he's appointed too. So, Mr. Kroponic currently works for the Highland Fire Authority, where he holds the rank of fire lieutenant and assistant fire training officer for the department. Mr. Kroponic has been in the fire service since 2006 and has fulfilled various roles with progressive responsibility throughout his career. Mr. Kroponic currently holds a bachelor's degree and numerous state certifications. In addition to his credentials, Mr. Kroponic also brings life experience on a rural paid-on-call combination fire department. Your approval of appointment would be tentative based on successful completion of the physical agility background. The anticipated start date would be July 1, 2019, at a starting rate of $44,928. If you refer back to the original approval back April 24th, it had the actual pay scale, hourly rate, as well as the step increases, which the attorney has advised would be appropriate to include in any motions.
If you approve them on April 24th. But you incorporate it, so.
So just to review, the starting rate was 21 something
2180
per hour.
per hour.
And then it's
with
step.
6 month step increase going to 2280, and a top out after 1 year of $24 an hour for an hourly employee.
How do we make the motion for for that
do we?
step increase, yes.
Motion to approve the fire chief's recommendation for the hiring of Nicholas George and Dave Korpanik at the wage scale approved by the Township Board on April 24th.
Okay.
Did you make, is that your motion?
I'll make the motion.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mrs. Chenoweth?
Yes.
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 No.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, cemetery maintenance budget amendment. Tammy, you want to
Sure.
bring that one out?
So our original budget put $3,500 in a miscellaneous line, and in discussions with Amy, miscellaneous lines really shouldn't be more than $1,000, and we've spent the $3,500 on the working on the roads, the pathways, driveways within the cemeteries, and then there's an $1,000 deductible for the accident where the pillars were hit, and then some other smaller whatnots. So in order to make sure this department isn't over budget and to fix up the problem of having a line with too much money in it, what we're going to do is propose a budget amendment to put something into the maintenance line, $52.50, to cover everything that we've done.
All right, I'll make the motion to approve the budget amendment.
Support.
Moved and supported. A vote, please.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Next item, Charter
Wait,
Township
Mary,
Highland
I had a
Water
question.
Supply Rates Resolution. I'm sorry. Did I pass it?
I'm sorry to interrupt. The fence, is that already, will we be doing a budget amendment for that, or do we have?
We have to put it out for bids.
Okay.
But we put money in the capital improvement fund for that, for
Okay.
replacement of that
I
fence.
thought we did, so I was just wondering where the status was, so it's going out for bids now?
I was told very clearly that if we don't put a fence back in there, somebody will be climbing all over me.
It wasn't me.
So,
You say, who is that? Who do you listen to?
a long-standing member of the community.
Cool.
I thought it looked kind of nice without a fence, but then again, you know, people see it differently, so I'm not going to stand in the way of that. All right, so this next item is the Charter Township of Highland Water Supply Rates Resolution 19-21. These are the rates that we're recommending will be charged for the upcoming. These are done by the month? How do they do these things?
Quarterly.
Quarterly?
I would move to approve the water supply rates from WRC as presented.
Support. Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
That is, and adopt the resolution.
As in adopt the resolution.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Support.
19-21.
Okay, so
Okay.
moved and supported. A vote, please.
I vote yes.
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 Motion carries.
Getting sloppy.
Okay, the next item, resolution 19-20, to submit deficit elimination plan. Tammy, you wanna take this one? This comes out of audit.
Well, it's really more Judy's department.
No,
Judy.
Tammy can do it.
Have at it.
So, because of delayed grant reimbursements, we ended 2000, where's my, here it is. 18 in a deficit of $27,045. So whenever there's a deficit in any one fund, we have to send a deficit elimination plan to the state to explain to them how we're gonna take care of that and move forward so it doesn't happen again. So, part of that is the board adopting a resolution to make sure that you understand why that happened and how we're gonna take care of it. So, we've sent them what was received for 2018 after the first 60 days of the year, because the first 60 days of the year is included in the audit. So, we received after that grant reimbursements of $36,651.01. So obviously that's greater than the $27,000 deficit. So, and we've talked to them to make sure that that will be acceptable to the state, and it will, so please approve it.
All right, I'll make the motion to adopt resolution 19-20 to submit deficit elimination plan to the state of Michigan.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mr. Salvia?
Yes.
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 Motion
Can I ask
carries.
a question?
Okay, the next two items are
Rick,
just.
one question
Yes,
about
ma'am.
that, I'm sorry, a lot of questions. So now we have extra, because, and I realize it's the delayed paying back.
Right.
So that will be in there for the end of this year, so that won't happen next year at the audit then, so.
And the plan is that, we'll have the authority formed before then.
Okay.
So when the authority begins, that's a separate entity, and the Highland Township Transportation Fund will be phased out.
Oh.
So depending on the timing of when that happens, if it's, in the near future, then the reimbursements will have plenty of time to get here before the end of the calendar year.
Right.
And we shouldn't be caught in that situation. But we'll be watching it closely to see where we're at, and if we need to do some budget amendments or something, we'll take a look at that at the end of the year.
And I think that was kind of the problem, was it was new to everybody, and we didn't really understand that. We ended up with a deficit because we could have made a budget amendment if we
Right.
knew that we weren't going to get it, but that didn't happen, so it became an audit issue type of thing. So
I mentioned that to that lady.
we voted on that. The next item, discussion of transportation program. Where we're at in the WOTA conversation is we're still working with Waterford, White Lake, Commerce, and Highland and Walled Lake, but which is a little bit different animal that's mixed in with us. And there's, White Lake has, Kim and I did a special board meeting with them maybe a month ago now, I don't know, 3 weeks or so. And with their board, special meeting, and they want to get rolling on this WOTA thing. What was the discovery there was that multiple board members made the comment that we've underfunded this. They've underfunded it to the point of almost killing the program. So one statement is that we funded it to fail. And so that individual felt that they needed to do a major change in how they're dealing with the program. There's also a trustee who deals with special needs people on a daily basis, and she was totally in favor of it. In fact, none of the board members that were there had anything negative to say about it. So they're going to be looking at an agreement that Gary hasn't had the chance because of other things, to look at an agreement that we're going to bring to the board next month, which will be a kind of preemptive start on WOTA, which would include Highland and White Lake. So rather than trying to throw out a lot of documentation, I think we need to wait till we get that agreement put together, and then we can go from there. But I just want to reiterate that this is one of those programs. I thought about this kind of in a strange way. Somebody asked me, well, how do you convince people that there's a need? And Waterford and Commerce have this. Waterford's a little different situation. Their financial world is different than Commerce's financial world, different than ours. But there's board members involved that keep asking the question, we need facts. We want to see facts and proof. And this is an odd animal. And I've probably told a number of people I'm not a religious person, but if anybody can have faith in God, this is one of those things where you have to have faith in this program. It's an odd animal. And I'm not saying stupid faith. I'm saying just you have to have faith that those people are there. And we've proved it in Highland. And White Lake, they agree to it. And Walled Lake, too, proved it there because. So it's very hard to get people who look at a program and go, well, there's only 18 people that ride it. Well, if they don't know about it, how do they do it? And you probably all saw the flyer or the questionnaire that went out. How many thousand of those did we put out?
About 40,000.
And we got responses to those from people that ride, people that don't ride. They were just extremely positive about the whole program. But I think the key here is that we need to look at the future side of this. It's highly probable, because of the change in things that have happened in Wayne and Macomb County, where the youth have moved to the cities. They don't want cars. They want to have transportation. And that's going to lead to voting that's probably going to put us in that position where the RTA will require us to pay out a significant millage. This is our opportunity to be a partner with other communities to be able to assure that we have an opportunity to get a piece of the pie to come back to compensate for that. It probably won't be, we don't know what it'd be, but it could be millions of dollars that comes back and helps fund that program. It's not going to stop the RTA from going through, but if we do nothing, we'll pay and get nothing. But the chief thing here is that we have a population that I call the dark population. They're the ones that live in a black hole. They don't have the money to pay for internet access. It's hard to reach them. They're word of mouth people. And it takes others that they know to pass that word of mouth. And Gary's been involved in this all along. It's been a very interesting process. I think he knows that there's the communities see the value. They just have to figure out how can we convince their boards to compensate for that. So it's not a free lunch. It will take some seed money to get have the thing supported to keep it moving forward. And the object is to develop grants and to move it into a self-supporting operation where each community still puts up a, quote, possible guarantee to make sure that if things go up or down, that it would be there. So those numbers will be modified. They'll be put forth in the next element that we'll present for the next board meeting. We'll get that out to you in advance. So any questions on the transportation? Or
What's the next step for us?
for the transportation is to get at least Highland and White Lake signed up, and then to get Commerce and Waterford on board with it.
So we'll begin the authority with just a couple of us.
Right, and we're going to have an issue with Walled Lake because
We don't really have an
issue.
It's just they're not, right now, because they're under contract with Highland to provide them service, until that contract runs out, they don't necessarily have to be a part of WODA, so they'll be on our coattails, but there will be a seat held for them at the board, and I have been talking to them over there, and basically they are an opt-in community with SMART. So what that means is all of their homeowners pay a millage that goes to SMART, and then they get 80% of it back to run the program. I haven't gotten a straight answer what the other 20% goes to, but for all the years I've been here, Madonna has been pushing for all these communities to opt in. However, they're not going to provide us any services out here because we're the end of the line. So we're not doing it, and it's not fair to the residents to put a millage on it, because they do have that millage. Technically, all of Walled Lake can ride 18 and over. They don't have to be disabled, they don't have to be 55 and over. It's pretty much just that classification of people that are riding. We have a couple strays that don't fit that, but, so if they were to join, well, if they choose to join when our contract is up, they can actually they can opt out of SMART. They can still have a millage if they don't want to reach into their own pockets, into the city pockets and pull out, but they can drop their millage to 0.75, which saves their people 25%. And they'll still continue to have the same amount of funding and continue to get the same service, plus better, because once we expand, Highland riders can now get to Fisk Road, and once Waterford comes on board, Highland riders will be able to get up to Clarkston and over to Pontiac for hospitals and medical. Waterford can't go, it's one of the mile roads, but before 96, so once they join, their riders will be able to get to Providence, which they can't get to now. Because we joined with Walled Lake, our riders can now technically get to Orchard Lake between 12 and 16 mile. Nobody's asked. I'm glad about that. It's a long drive. But, so the whole thing will expand. We have a meeting on the 20th, another WOTA meeting. And it'll be explained at that meeting that Highland and White Lake and Walled Lake basically have an agreement being put together, or basically put together, Gary just has to review it, for everybody to go forward. At least them, which means that Commerce would be completely out of any service because White Lake carries them, and Waterford would still be on their own. Waterford's problem is, last year when they were about to be shut down in July, the schools stepped in and said, we'll continue to carry you, but you must find an alternative because we're not going to carry you forever. And the school has been coming down on them saying, you know, we heard about this WOTA, what are you doing? Are you getting involved? Because we got to stop carrying you guys. And Commerce is just kind of out there. Over the past at least 10 years, they've contributed $14,000 a year to White Lake, and they don't understand to contribute any more to serve their community. So we're working on that one.
All right.
Who else are we trying to, I noticed you're taking Waterford, Walled Lake, and Commerce, and then where from there we open it? Is there other ones we're hoping to, is that the like the long range plan? You know, what's is that basically that we're going to be for right now? Is that what we're thinking about?
That's what we're pretty much thinking about for right now is Highland, White Lake, Commerce, Waterford, and Walled Lake.
Okay.
You know, hopefully Milford will catch the bus. And we're hoping Wixom will too. Right now, Wixom has an issue because their city manager used to be the ombudsperson at SMART, and when he was hired in, he was told specifically by the entire board, do not try to smartify us. So they use People's Express, but they offer their people very, very, very limited and extremely expensive service. So once we have this up and running, and it's not so much a SMART situation, but rather a West Oakland transportation, we could probably be able to get Wixom in. NODA is looking at expanding, they're looking at expanding into Oakland Township.
Yep.
And possibly taking over Independence, which has Clarkston, Independence Township, and Springfield Township. Kind of up for grabs is Brandon,
Groveland.
Holly. Holly has their own program, but their program is only for the village, so it doesn't do the outlying areas, and most of their people go to Flint. So we really don't want to go in that direction, but we won't deny communities if they want to get on board. Lyon has also looked at us to the south. They're another one that's kind of way out there. But
The point is that
Thanks.
if you can do the responsible thing, which is work together as with other communities to form a broader base, then you share the assets in a way that make them go further, and that's what you're really trying to do. So, well, that's that in a huge nutshell. Kim, thank you for that. And then the next item, and then we're going to adjourn, but the next item is a discussion of refuse issues. I work in an office that handles the refuse calls, and we are turning an individual into a emotional wreck from the nasty phone calls that we get from homeowners over their trash wasn't picked up and their leaves weren't picked up and this didn't happen and that didn't happen. So if you think about the process of trash hauling and where we are in terms of labor in our country right now, and how much is involved in the process of picking up trash, the fact that there's pretty much two people left now, Waste Management and GFL. GFL just bought, I think it's Republic, which used to have its own. They have their own dump. They're keeping the dump, but they're selling off their assets. So poor Karen Provo has been putting up with just horrible interactions with the public, and with the amount of rain we've had, and the fact that the company's probably pushed itself to its limits. Perfection is, did they miss 10 or 50 or 20? The numbers are all over the place. There's weeks where they have perfect pickup, and then like over the Memorial Day weekend, everybody put out 10 million bags, and then it rained, and then they didn't show up, and then so that really accelerated the issue. So I've come up with a proposal, and I think it's probably the best solution to it. If you want to, the public sees us as the cause. We hired the trash company. We're responsible for picking up the trash, and they don't care how much it costs, because that's not the point. The point is, did we fulfill our agreement with them to pick up their trash in a timely and safe and neat manner? So what it points to is because we can't control GFL, then what we should do is work with GFL to figure out a process that maybe they can also partner in, that would help them look good and would help us at the same time. For an example, when I finally came to this, we have an individual that does some lawn mowing for us when the lawns get too long, and has also picked up trash when people have these dumpster houses and we end up having to get them cleaned up. So he happened to be standing at the counter, and I said, "Hey, come over here. I want you to talk to the girls here. They've got some bags of compost to pick up. Could you pick them up?" "Yeah, I can do it." So boom, out there, picked up 62 bags of compost. Well, not only picked them up, but cleaned everything up. That's what you need to do to make sure that you've got everything taken care of. So we have, I made a proposal that you add a few dollars to the cost of picking up trash, because we're still cheaper than anybody else in the county. But we actually charge enough right now, I believe, to have a fund that helps to pay for toxic waste. So I think the thing to do is, in fact, we're going to do it because it makes total sense so people can't complain. When somebody calls, "They didn't pick my trash up. What's your address, ma'am or sir?" We'll have it picked up. Now, Karen does that now, She calls the garbage company, say, yep, we'll take care of it, and then they don't. Now she's a liar. We need to take the lie out of it. We need to take what they call irresponsibility out of it. We go help pick up the trash. Well, part of this is, okay, say you have a weekend or something, or, because we do it on Friday, and people, they get their stuff. If it doesn't get picked up, they don't get picked up till Monday or Tuesday. So we need to find a way that we can go out there and capture that, make a clean run of it, and we end up getting refunded through the refuse fund. It doesn't really come out of the township's general fund. It comes out of the refuse fund, which we're already collecting for. One of the things, this parcel of property over here that we just added on to, my thought is that we get together with GFL. We ask them to pay for a screen and fence, fence off a decent size area, put dumpsters in there to be able to have subcontractors go out and pick up the trash, throw it in the dumpster. They're responsible to pick it up. So we don't pay for the dumpsters, we don't pay for the fencing, but it does nothing but help them. And it helps us because we are the trash company. And everybody says you got to get rid of these guys. Well, there's no proof that Waste Management's going to do any more other than they won't pick up everything that GFL does. So we don't want this stuff ending up on the side of the road. We don't want people screaming. I don't want any more of this stuff where we have an individual that is ready to come unglued. We don't need that. It's just unfair. And you can't change people's attitudes by promising and then not performing. So we have to change their attitude by performing. They don't scream unless they feel that they've been, it just happens over and over again, So we need to be responsible. We're the trash hauler. We'll fill in the blanks and we'll use the resources that we're already collecting. So
will we charge GFL, keep tabs of how many times we've had to go out and take it out?
Yes.
They should,
Exactly.
if they're not doing their job and they can't keep up with it, or it will help them out, but they're gonna pay us for it then.
well, that's part of the thought process, but there's I hate to.
It's holding them accountable for.
It is.
Yeah, well, you can.
Contract with them for garbage pickup, but if they don't do it, I think legally you could pay somebody else to do it and charge them back for it. It's ludicrous to put that burden on Highland Township when we have a contract for somebody that's supposed to do that.
I didn't say we weren't going to do that.
So,
I just said that this is a process we got to work in.
have you bounced this off GFL?
Not yet.
We'll talk to them first.
And I don't remember what enforcement provisions we have in our current contract. I know we tweaked it several months back and extended it. But whatever is done should be done by way of a contract amendment.
Right.
And
That works.
there's quite a few issues come to my mind in terms of using township property as a temporary landfill or temporary disposal site. But with a contract amendment, you can put something together, but
Well,
we're doing their job for them, or we're securing doing their job for them.
We shouldn't be paying them.
Well, the way you have to look at it is a partnership.
Well, and it is a contract.
And that's what you do is you set that up. But if we don't do something, the difference is 4 years ago, 5 years ago, social media didn't have any effect on what's going on. But today,
Well, and they had the
you
help.
get they rip us a new one every chance that they can have, and there's no friendly involved in it, and most of it's unfounded.
Well, it is, and people realize that it is what it is. That's a place for people
I don't
that-
think they realize it, and I think
Yeah.
that's why they're so mean and nasty, and we do not need to have
No, and they do
employees
to
that
the
put up
schools,
with it.
too. The same thing happens.
Yep.
They love to.
But we have a way that we can handle it, and that's by forming a partnership with these guys and see what they'll do. I think rather than, there's ways to do it. We just had an issue with Oakland County assessing. They didn't like being questioned, so they dumped us, all right? That could easily happen with GFL. They're charging us a real low rate. They could say, well, we're not going to do this, or we're not going to include this, or we're just going to continue as we are, and it's your problem. And maybe even say, you know what, sue us. Now where are we? So I don't think they're going to do that. It's better to approach the ownership and say, instead of constantly saying, hey, you guys you're not performing, they know it. They're doing everything they can because they can't get employees. They can't get truck drivers because most of the people now, well, you can smoke marijuana in Michigan, you know, so you can't drive. So you know, because they can't get clean drivers. So we can say it's their fault and it's their problem, but you can also work with them to try and make it nobody's problem so it happens. And that's my proposal, and that's the direction I'll head. But in the meantime, I'm not going to let trash sit out in front of people's houses. I had to deal with somebody this morning.
So does GFL have a customer call line, or calling here or is it you get lost in an answering system?
You get fed a line of baloney. Their call system is horrible. And so consequently they call here. And we have, you know, Karen's an extremely high achiever, and she believes that the people should be serviced, and she believes that GFL should do their job. And so we have to look at it and say, what is the expectations? Industry standard, that's what we have. If you want performance that goes above and beyond, then we better start looking at opening up the gates down there at the Mexican border so we can get some people back here to work. Because that's what it's going to take to make it happen.
Is that Chris Kopecki that's picking it up?
No, he hasn't picked any up yet. He does some other things, but
who did you hire?
Tim Klaus. But we can use multiple contractors. I mean, there's people, whoever's available, go pick
Little
it up.
things too, I noticed with things I noticed in our neighborhood, there's always somebody, a little bit of trash always left behind. Might be a paper or two, it just bugs me. It's like, you know, I'm not blaming them per se, it's just the pride in your work. I know, as my brother said, it's a job he always wanted, because he only worked 1 day a week. He didn't realize that different neighborhoods when he was a kid. That was one of the funniest things we joke about still with him. But the garbage, just bits and pieces always left behind, just bugs me, because I'm out there picking it back up and throwing it back in my garbage for the next week.
Well, I always wonder why they don't have more stringent rules, like if there was a requirement that all garbage was in bags, then
Right.
you wouldn't have stray papers
Right.
falling on the floor.
Well, those come out of the recycle. I think a lot of that stuff does too, where they.
That's
I
right.
Should
think
be
that's
containerized.
more of the recycle bins. I
Yeah.
think more than I should have clarified.
Okay.
But
But
you're
there's
right,
a
though.
lot of people that aren't bagging their their
That's
garbage,
messy.
or, you know,
I bag
they're
mine in my
not
garbage
following
can.
good practices to ensure that you're not going to end up with a mess.
And they're also the ones that scream at us.
And I don't know why we don't require that, because it would
Yeah.
stop some of these problems from happening.
Now for the last 2 years, I put the garbage bag inside my can.
Uh-huh.
I tie it, I put the can out without the lid on top, so they just can pull it out and throw it away, and then we're done with it. I have to worry about a street somewhere or whatever.
You got people that, you know, just put their recycles out without any container, or, you know,
With the yard waste,
or
they have.
put bags out without a can. You know, you're just asking for problems.
Yeah, the animals are getting rushy now, it's nicer out.
Well, I did find out that Highland doesn't have any animals. Because there's a gentleman up on Milford Road, almost at the border of Rose Township, who the very first year I was here came in screaming at me because the trash man put his garbage cans upside down in his driveway when they're done. And I said, so the problem is I can't get in my driveway. So I said, okay, and I went and looked. So he's got this really long driveway. It's probably like our road at home, 600, maybe 1,000 feet long. All right, so I said, so I noticed when you plow your driveway that you don't plow a space for your trash. Well, that's not my problem. So had quite a conversation with him. So he wanted his money back and all that stuff. So fast forward 4 + 5 years, all of a sudden this guy calls up and I can hear him screaming at Karen. The trash men went through my trash bags and dumped the trash all over the ground. And I want it cleaned up now. So I go, is that the guy up there on Milford Road? Yeah. So the next morning I went out and I took pictures of it. When he put his new trash out, I went up there, I took pictures of it. Kitchen bags, not black heavier bags, not garbage cans, but kitchen bags. And laying next to the kitchen bags are these rib bones and a corn cob and some other stuff and a couple pieces of paper. Like Brian says, why don't they pick it up? Well, number one, I took pictures of it and I called the guy back up and I said, you know, if you'd put your stuff in an approved container, it'd be a lot easier for the trash people to take care of it and the animals would stay out of it. There are absolutely no animals in this area. I said, sir, the crows were all over your bags before you could I could get off the road and get turned around. Well, I'm going to take you to court, so I'm expecting, Gary, that we'll have a civil suit against us for this soon. But that's the kind of stuff that it's not right for me to have to even talk about an individual like that. We shouldn't have to do that. So the best way is to be the ultra performer.
Be proactive.
And we can do that by making sure that we fulfill that component of it. And the irony is, nobody cares about the cost. Not only is it $3.17 a week, they don't care about that. It's, did their trash get picked up when it's expected to get picked up? Was it done cleanly? And were their cans put where they would expect them to be? So if you can perform that, which I think is fairly simple by partnering, then I think we can solve that as a huge problem. And,
how many percentage of your complaints are they didn't pick my garbage up at all?
well, ironically,
First
it's
two trucks
maybe
went around.
10 to 20 per week. That's out of 13,000 stops.
The companies have the technology, they may not have it on all trucks. They video.
Oh, they videotape them.
And, you know, so if somebody calls and it's my address and they didn't pick up my trash, they got video that shows it wasn't there when they came through.
They do that.
You know?
And ironically,
in a situation like that, it would seem to me the last thing you want to do is the township starts bailing those people out because they're not playing by the rules. So, I mean, be careful about how much you offer to do.
Well, you've got to
There's a lot
watch.
of takers in this world.
You got to watch and see what they're doing and when they had the set out, you know. So, and we've caught a number of people who have lied about that because the manager drives by and takes pictures of it when we call them up.
The last week it was, the first two trucks went around, so the recycles and the trash pickup went around. The compost pickup truck did not go around, and it missed everybody, and then it started raining.
Mm-hmm.
And then they missed probably half of those. And they
there's
were
a
melting down, and they're a mess.
company in Waterford called Advance that for whatever reason their performance has fallen off considerably for the last half a year.
It's no help. They can't find help.
Do you see how those guys hustle when they're doing
They
that?
can't
Yeah,
even imagine
they're
that
trying.
job.
They're the ones
They
that
are.
they're trying.
Well, anyways, that's the refuse discussion, and I think we have a way that we can calm a lot of it down. There's always going to be somebody. Hopefully, the guy won't come in with a gun on his hip again and scream at me. So.
I'd move to adjourn.
Yeah, it's been a long night.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kim, good job.